Hello, this is the 15-minute recording of my workshop held in Sydney CBD in person last month. The recording is for my models assignment. Enjoy. So I just want to say thank you very much for coming today. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to eat right for your belly. And what I really... Azita, did you want to say anything before I start?
Oh, you know, the whole reason why Nicky's here is part of our health and wellbeing initiative that is introduced by HR for this year. So this is hopefully, yeah, that's fine, all good. So we hope you enjoy today's session and please sign up on the forms by the end of the hour.
So thank you very much for coming. As I said, we're going to talk about how to eat right for your belly. And what I really want to dispel today is this notion of to achieve weight loss, we have to eat less and do more. And I want to do that through quite a scientific explanation. So hopefully you can stay with me. But I really think that once you understand the science around food, it changes your motivations. It's not, I'm not going to eat that because I'll get fat. It's, I'm not going to eat that because it'll do this and that will cause poor health to my body. So the formal part of this, just trying to turn the slide. Yeah. So the formal part of today's session lasts for an hour. And as I said, it's quite scientific. So I've got a couple of taste testers in the middle to keep you interested and explain some of the things, to sort of explain the science in a practical way. Just to double check, are we recording? Yeah. And then at the end, I'll give you some practical tips that you can take away and start implementing immediately. Very easy and very high impact. And then afterwards, I'll sort of have an informal 30-minute session where you can stay and eat your lunch if you're still game to eat in front of me. You can see some of the tracking technologies that I'm going to talk about and touch and feel them and see how they work. And then just ask any questions sort of on a more informal basis. A couple of admin matters. We are recording this session. That's because I'm doing this as part of an assignment. And so this part of the recording will get sent to some of my tutors and peers. And there is a form on the tables just down here, which if I could ask you each to sign and fill out during the presentation, that would be much appreciated. All the slides will be available to you after, as well as a handout sort of summarising some of the information. And Azita has a cubic form, which she's asked if you could fill out as well. So does anyone have any questions before we start, or should we just get going? All good? Right. So hello, how are you? Join in. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Nicky Clark, and if you don't know, I happen to be John Clark's wife. Now, when I'm not looking after John, which does take up a lot of my time, I have a nutritional therapy business up on Blythe Street, and I see clients on a one-to-one basis to help them with their nutrition. I think in nutrition, there's sort of quite a lot of confusion. What's a nutritionist? What's a nutritional therapist? What's a naturopath? What's a dietitian? So just to sort of explain that quite simply, a nutritionist tends to be someone who knows a lot about food. So they'll say, this is an orange, this orange has a lot of vitamin C. A dietitian, on the other hand, is someone who works within the medical system, and they'll tend to work alongside doctors or in hospitals, and they'll have a diet protocol for a condition. So if you were diagnosed with diabetes, the dietitian would say, well, this is the foods you should be eating and this is how to eat it, and off you go. Now, a nutritional therapist, which is me, is much more of a personalised approach. So it looks at you, your symptoms, your background, your family history, puts it all together and says, based on all of these factors, this is the sort of diet that is suitable for you. So there's never any one sort of diet that is applicable to a person. Everyone's different. And the way I work is very much to figure out what that personal diet is. Just to tell you a bit about me. So I've explained what I am, a nutritional therapist, but how I got into nutrition was really when we were trying to conceive that child on the right there. We were having troubles getting pregnant, and I'd sort of made a couple of very minor changes to my diet, and quite quickly along came Tom. And it really sparked a fascination. I sort of thought, this is incredibly powerful, just diet changes, and we now have a child. And then through Tom's life, through the pregnancy and as he grew up, started to realize how important food is. Does anyone have any questions before I move on? So let's just set the scene. Okay, so what I want to cover today, as I've said, is the science behind weight gain and bellies. As I said, it's all about motivation if you really understand the science. So that's where I really want to focus. The second thing is that I want to explain why weight gain is so individual. And I guess that explains why some people can eat whatever they want and other people really can't. And when you understand the science of why that's happening, there's stuff you can do to address it. So that's where I want you to walk out today, understanding. And then finally, I'll give you some ideas of things you can do at home, small, easy things, as well as if you want to get more into it, you can see some of the tracking technologies that are available to learn more about you and your unique weight gain processes. So just to kick things off, to kick things off and have a bit of a sort of chat amongst ourselves, I've brought some protein balls along. And my question is are protein balls healthy? So there's 3 different types of protein balls here. These are the Woolworths ones. These are the ones that I made very quickly. And these are the ones that I've made with a lot of thought and extra health. So would you guys like to try one? Yeah. And if, I mean, you're welcome not to. And then, you don't need it. But equally, you can. And maybe even have 2 and compare the extra healthy ones with the other ones. And maybe if you could just chat to the person next to you and try, if you could sort of, we could come back as a group and decide, do we think protein balls are healthy, or what your main consideration is?
WA will have to do this virtually, won't they?
We'll do it on behalf of WA.
Yeah, I can see Adam salivating already, actually.
Sorry, guys. I think I did tell Nancy to buy you some protein balls, so she's obviously tricked you.
We put all of the guys on WA on mute for obvious reasons, but you can unmute anytime if you want to ask a question or interrupt.
So, have you all chatted to your neighbour? What are everyone's thoughts about whether protein balls are healthy? Does anyone want to share to the group?
My wife says they are.
Your wife says they are? Excellent.
Find out what my wife says.
Those ones
you
are
guys.
so yummy.
These ones are yummy. You like them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those
Yep.
are not as much of a fan. I'm really big on those ones.
Yeah,
Like you
good.
said were more carefully made. Those ones.
John,
Do you like those?
John, you should have a healthy one.
Yeah, it's an undertone of like some sort of cinnamon.
Okay, so can I have a show of hands, guys? Who thinks protein balls are healthy? Good, good. Excellent, yeah. And who's got a sort of couple of question marks that they want to hear a bit more about? Yeah, good. And I think that's probably right. I think protein balls are very much, I suppose what's healthy is often trendy. Like what is the trend in nutrition? So at the moment, things like protein balls are seen as quite healthy because often they're plant-based, so they're vegan. That's very much the trend at the moment. If we look 10 years ago, it was probably fat-free things were healthy. And then 10 years before that, it was cholesterol-free was healthy. So our perception of what is healthy is often very influenced by what's trendy at that time. And so often the marketing is tricking us. So they're called protein balls, but are they really protein balls? So what I want to show you, just did a sample of these, a few common protein balls on the market. The top left ones are mine. The other ones are other people's. Let's just have a look here. So those percentages are the percentage of protein in the protein balls. So, you know, if you look at my ones, you can see they are quite high protein, and that is probably a good thing, but obviously nutrition is a very debatable topic. But the main point I want to bring up today and what's relevant to today's talk is, well, what's the other 80%? What's the other 90%? Okay, they might have protein. They can say they've got protein, but what else are you getting? And why do they taste so good? So I will come on to that. So part of my plan there was to give you a kick of sugar, get your brains alert and excited.
Can we have the recipe for those at the end?
Yeah, of course you can.
Please.
Of course. And help yourselves.
I let myself go there. I'm breathing in the entire time at the moment.
Right, so now is where I'm going to jump into the science a bit more. So just stay with me. So weight, I want to tell you, does not equal eat less and do more. If you want to lose weight, let's rethink this concept. So let's look at weight first. So why do we look at weight as the #1 measure of health? Why do we go to the doctor or go to the hospital and they always stick us on the scale? And the reason is, sort of quite disappointingly, is that scales are very objective. You hop on them, you can barely make a mistake and you will get a concrete number and people can write that down. But even you and I know that when you look at someone's weight, you could have a really big 150 kilo football player, or you could have a really pudgy 150 kilo obese person. And they're very different, but they weigh exactly the same. So what scales don't tell us is where the fat is located or what type of thing it's weighing. Now, what they've realized over the last 20, 30 years in nutrition is that the thing we need to be concerned about is not overall body weight, it's fat, but particularly where that fat is located. And there's a type of fat which is stored deep inside our organs and actually wraps around your stomach, your liver and your intestines. And it's called visceral fat or belly fat. And that is the fat we have to be worried about. And the reason is because that fat is biologically active. So it's actually a hormone producing substance that spits bad stuff into your body that goes around and causes things like inflammation and blood pressure. So this visceral fat is something we really don't want. So then you're probably all thinking, gosh, do I have this visceral fat? Prod your stomach, that's no good because that's just subcutaneous fat. That's just your skin fat, and that's good, healthy, normal fat to have. Now, the fat that's bad is the stuff under here wrapped around your organs. And the only way you can really tell whether you've got it is with fancy schmancy machines at the hospitals or a very basic tape measure. What you do is you put the tape measure around halfway between the top of your, I think it's called your iliac crest, the top of this hip bone, and the bottom rib, somewhere in the middle, which broadly speaking is your stomach button. That's your waist circumference. And that is the best measure of whether you have this visceral fat or not. Measurements on the scales, just park them for today. They're just not useful.
So when is the measurement then bad?
Yeah, so a waist circumference for a man is put in the danger zone if it's over 101 centimetres. A waist circumference for a female is in the danger zone if it's over 89 centimetres. Most of us have no idea about where we are. Now, a man, that's 40 inches. And if you're thinking about trouser size, it's not trouser size. It's your trouser size is different. So you actually have to get a tape measure. Yeah. But the problem is, and when you do it yourself, you start to realise that it's very difficult to get, is it this bit, is it this bit, is it this bit? And that's why the doctors don't use it. They will use scales because it's much easier.
And you can cheat it.
And the instructions say don't breathe in. Now, the next part of the equation is eat less. Okay, so eat less of what? Now, if I said stop eating and don't eat for 30 days, of course you're going to lose weight. That's kind of obvious. But what most people know is they stop eating for a week or however long it is. They eat celery sticks, they lose weight, and then a couple of weeks later, they've put the weight back on again. So that's not really what we want to be doing, is it? It's eat less of what? And that's what I'm going to explain to you in some quite detailed science now. So stay with me. Before I go into the science, do I have any questions before I move on?